My name is Diego Rivera. I work for a company called SWS Panel Inc. We're located in the city of Southgate in California. We're a panelized company that does steel framing structures. We panelize everything from a floor panel, a wall panel, and truss system. So we do a turn-and-key structure systems, not non-bearing and wall bearing and structural materials to a job site. Our main goal is to customize everything that has been done in wood or steel and transform them into a steel framing building and supply and demand all the projects that need our service. After it was kind of interesting. It was like I told you, it was a great experience to go through the sitting sessions we got between Ari Olson and ourselves when scheduling the projections of the job and what was going to come. But then since we run a shop, it was like, wow, this is great. I can bring this into the shop, incorporate it into the shop, and then think from the job site back to the field.
Right.
I mean, from the field back to the installation, to the plant. How do you do that? How do we integrate that?
Right.
So I took some of the concepts. I read about every book that is, possible to my hands, watched every YouTube video that is out there. And then I realized that there was a lot of mistakes being done in some of the stuff that we were doing. We did some of the trusses. On the trusses, we missed a couple screws. We could miss a couple screws, a couple connections.
Right.
So since by then I had already incorporated in the shop a concept of being a customer of a customer. So the guy who's putting the screws is a customer of who's cutting. The guy who's cutting is a customer of who's doing the supply. And sort of going back on the concept of a pulling schedule and who's doing the screws, who's doing the chop saws. I realized that some of my guys had made a mistake without realizing it, that their end user was actually the guy in the field.
Mm-hmm.
And how are we going to make this guy in the field feel comfortable that they can trust us in the front? Like when you go buy a TV, when you go buy a phone, you expect that whoever put the technology into the phone, into the television, or the car that you drive has done his job.
Right.
There's no return policies in construction because everything's money.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I
no
can't
guarantees.
I can't go back to the store and get a new phone or a new wall. So that opened my mind, and I made a field trip with some of my truss guys because we had a little space right there, and I took them to the field. I made them go up on the ladder where the guys go, here and put all the gear, all the safety gear, so they can actually understand how limited you become when you're up in a roof, walking with all the straps, with all the safety gear, the helmet, and the sun just shining at your head. When here in the shop, we're on the roof, and we're only, a few inches away from the ground, and we can take a break whenever we want, and that doesn't happen in the field.
Right.
So it opened their eyes. I mean, when they see that and they try to do the job that someone else is doing without having the advantage of a truss being done the right way and without knowing that truss got a wrong screw or anything, not having drawings, not having anything when you're in the field to correct something that I'm assuming someone else did because it's an engineered product. Those guys just, their hearts went out to the guys in the field. They're like, we understand.
Right.
And through this exercise, it actually made a big sense because now they came to the shop and says, hey, you know what? I think we should put a color code for where those clips go. And I go, what do you mean? He says, we use 3 types of clips. One is here, one is there. We know on the drawings here in the shop which clip goes where in the truss. What about if we start spray painting them? I'm like, great idea. So then we started incorporating all that into our trusses. So now the new generation.
These are your shop guys that came up with these ideas?
Yeah.
Based upon the trip to the field. Excellent. Wonderful.
Just knowing how the field is their customer. How do you please your customer? So they said, you know what? I think he will be happy if I spray paint the trusses and I show where the clip location is.
Right.
So we came back, we did a couple tests, went to the field, sold the idea to the field guys, and they love it. It says, you saved my time. I mean, that at the end of the day, construction is about money and logistics.
Yep.
The more you can minimize that, that space between the job site and the shop, because we're doing everything is pre-engineered. We're not stick framing. We incorporate some of those concepts in the trusses.
Right. And,
it even helped on the inspections. We did our first inspection on the second floor. The inspector came in and he's like, what is this, all these colors right here? It's like a rainbow here. And I'm like, well, it's not a rainbow. Like green means this, blue means that. And he looked at it. And as we went along, first he was looking at my drawings. And as we went farther into the inspection, he was looking for colors. So his brain switched from a drawing to a color.
Wow. Starwood inspector, or was this the...
Both.
Both. So
The
both
city inspector and the owner's inspector. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So they both became attuned to and liked, I assume, the color code.
Yeah. And it was interesting because the field inspector, when the city inspector came, he's like, oh, green means that, blue means this,
Yeah.
and then he was already talking about colors instead of talking of the full engineering of the truss. And it just made the inspection really easy.
Oh, wonderful.
There was really no questions asked after that. We verified to make sure that the engineering was backing up every color.
Right.
But once we got their confidence and they start seeing, once they inspect a few trusses, we probably did about 20 of them. By the time we did 21, they knew that there was an order, there was consistency, and there was a process that was being used. It's not that somebody was just inventing colors. They start just sort of military choosing the trusses. Okay, let's do this one, let's do that one. And then we go there, we verify, and like, okay, we're fine. We just did it to the clips on the trusses. Right. And then actually in the next job, we're trying to incorporate that on the walls, trying to put them on the floors. And then we're just, making it a way that, sometimes colors say more than dimensions and things like that.
Yeah.
Walking away from what, Lean Construction does, for what we're doing, there's nothing out there that can do what we're doing. There's not a software. Everything that we're doing, we're pushing it to its limits.
Right.
And able to build a building on a shop that goes and gets delivered to a job site and it gets installed without any mistakes. Right. We're not there yet. We're still growing. And then we're incorporating, there's another software called Bluebeam. I don't know if you're aware of it.
I'm not, no.
It's a great PDF controller, and I'm meeting with them too, and we're taking Bluebeam to the limits where we are tagging and everything, all our walls, our trusses, our drawings, in order to talk to each other. Yeah. Because everything we draw is in BIM. We use Revit and some other applications. So all our RFIs are being done on a 3D model, not anymore on a 2D drawing. So we have the 3D model of the truss, and I do an RFI. So I rotate the building. I write the RFI in this area. I rotate it to the other side and write in this other area. Bluebeam has a Revit and AutoCAD extension.
Right.
So you do the Bluebeam and you do the modeling section or the cross section or an area in Revit, and export it to Bluebeam, and you tag it in Bluebeam.
So these tags, these RFI tags, are being done in Bluebeam.
Yeah.
Can you send me a couple of those? I'd love to. See those.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing about it is that once you tag it in Bluebeam, once you hit the list on the bottom of Bluebeam, if you hit the tag, the model rotates to the location of the tag.
Okay.
But but at the end of the day, they're all toys if you don't know how to incorporate them. So we're Bluebeam. We're very lucky that Bluebeam is here in California, and they're actually in Pasadena, about 13 miles from our shop. So we're doing a case study for us, because nobody has integrated the manufacturer endpoint of a product to the installation. Everybody, even even Lean Construction is always from the general contractor pulling from the job site to the first day that the people arrive to the job site.
You're right. Yep.
Nobody's taking it from the job site to the raw material.
We did that on Heathrow Terminal 5, but that was 10, 12 years ago, and that was a lot of people, and we didn't have a tool like Bluebeam. So yeah, you ought to be proud of yourself for what you're doing. You are doing world-class stuff. That is great.
Great. We're just trying to fix our problems, basically.
So tell me, going back to the we did a little bit of training, that 1 hour, 2 hour of training. What was the aha moment for you? That
pull schedule.
The pull schedule. So explain a little bit about what you saw in the pull schedule that excited you and got you on your path of Lean.
Sometimes you kind of have a tendency when you have a shop to become, I call them heroes. So we're firemen, Yep. And I keep telling people, I don't need heroes in this shop.
Right.
I actually need leaders. And the only way you can lead something, or you can be, is projecting yourself ahead. Where am I a day today, 6 months, 3 months? And we try to do that in the shop when it comes to inventory, but we're always building inventory. We're always building inventory to prevent any mistakes. Right. When I saw the way you handle the pull schedule, where I can now start building my inventory based on a need, not on a want. Oh, I need this, I want this. No, it makes so much sense. It reduced my inventory. It reduced my waste factor. I was able to program with my suppliers the materials that I need. I was able to keep my accounts payable at a different rate than I was doing before because I was building inventory for the project as the project was moving, but never thinking, okay, what does the project need a week from now? It's just, what does the project need? So I was always working on the whole project, never putting targets on the overall picture.
Okay.
So having a pull schedule made a big difference. There's such a difference, wood framers and steel framing. First, time. You're dealing with nowadays with lean construction and with all this recycling and the process that you do. Everybody's been talking about process of recycling the material or how am I efficient to the environment. And it takes more than that because wood is not a bad product. I think you need to make a decision, concrete, wood, or steel. They're all good applications to the needs of the project. We're finding niches and specific projects, especially like the ones we're building in the desert, when you're building something that people's going to be living in there, and then you have all this fire rating assemblies that you can actually attack and make it more efficient in the long use of the building for the end user and the owner when it comes to insurance, when it comes to liabilities. Steel is the way to go.
Yeah. What's the difference?
That's a great question. And it's changing the culture. It's changing the mentality of a carpenter. The carpenters are used to coming to the job site with their tools, just grabbing a bunch of piles of wood or a bunch of studs and just frame it as they go, without understanding that every hour that they spend, sometimes they have to go 15, 20 minutes back to repair whatever mistake they did because they're about production without thinking ahead.
Right.
What we're doing is we're panelizing. We're spending the time. We're using what the technology is out there. And that's something that is interesting because you see architects, engineers, they have state-of-the-art software, AutoCAD, Revit. It's not until now that there's companies who are integrating those big softwares, those 3D modeling softwares into some of our trades. Mm-hmm. And then we are trying to do that within the panel extension company. Not just panelizing our system, but incorporating them into the softwares like Revit, AutoCAD, and be able to do clash meetings with the architects and the other trades to justify any changes on those panels. So once we agree on a change that has been done in a panel that goes to the job, that makes a big difference because you have a control environment where if you stick frame in the field, you keep depending on the way the guy who's framing woke up that morning.
Exactly.
If he decides to do it or not.
Right.
The day that I stop learning, I think is the day I'm going to make mistakes.
There you go.
I mean, like on these things, we're moving some panels and trusses. I brought a guy who was a teacher, who actually is my quality control guy. Because what better than a teacher to control? So I talked to him. I said, "Look, at every truss is it's a report card. It's an essay. Make sure the screws are there. Make sure the components is. I'll teach you construction, right. But I can never change his mind to be so detailed to control every detail. Right. The guy who's bundling my trusses to go to the job site. So I went around and I looked at a guy who worked for UPS and I said, "You come and work for us because you have a mentality of a package. So it's about logistics. This material needs to get to the job site and it needs to arrive intact and bundle and ready for people to know where they go." Wow. And then a teacher to do my corrections, and I got a roofer to do my trusses. Yeah. And I said, "I'll teach you how to frame, but I can't teach you, the ethics of each trade."
Right. Right.
So we're doing that. And now we're very proud to say that, we're trying to hire a lot of veterans in the company. Yep. And our idea is to get, more than majority of the employees. We have already probably in our labor force done that they will be able to, take advantage of that knowledge and all that discipline that they learned when they were serving the country to come and help us put that same discipline into our shop so we can be more efficient.
Oh, that's...
Okay, perfect. I appreciate that. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. See you again.